most people aren't willing to just drop like 30 or 40 grand a month.
Grant Cardone, when we talked to him about it, he was like, y'all got kids? And we're like, no. He's like, best thing for business.
Yeah. I would eat a box of cereal, a gallon of milk for breakfast.
A gallon for, is that possible? Like, isn't that a challenge?
It was a half gallon. Thanks for having me.
I used to never film like these interactions, which is kind of dumb when you think about it, because like I have like really cool people in here all the time. And he was like, you know, at Valuetainment, I took like 4-month breaks on content every like milestone. So he was like, at 500K, I took a break. At $1 million, I took a break. And basically just to reset and reevaluate. He's like, because you're going to plateau and like hit, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I just started thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, you know, I've been doing it for 2 years now and we've grown really well, but I'm tired of like making content. If you look at what Gary did, he just vlogged his life for like 6 years. And that was it.
Most people aren't willing to just drop like 30 or 40 grand a month in editing and stuff just to produce organic content. That's for most businesses, that's their like all of their marketing budget. Or that's what someone wants, that's their like top 1% earnings. So it's, you know, I mean, I think the document don't create is absolutely the best way to do it. I think it's really hard to do it unless you have a team. One of the things that's been helpful is that with Caleb, I think we've been encouraged to do more things like this and like do more podcasts, do more speaking engagements and things that we wouldn't otherwise normally do because...
Said no to everything forever.
Yeah, for a very long time we said no to everything. And it was just like, is this going to make me money? Not really? Okay. So that was just very simple. Right. But now we're trying to do some other stuff. So, you know, our priorities have shifted.
I did business first, just like you guys, then content second. And so I went into it, I go, okay, content's a business. Like, so I built the infrastructure, the org chart, everything. And we spent about 40 grand a month on content. And people are like, this guy's crazy. Because, you know, I'm like, dude, you don't get it. It's just marketing. My life is so different than every other person's life. Like, why am I not just showing that? Yeah.
Do you married kids?
Yep. So I've been married going on 9 years.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep. 3-year-old, 2-year-old.
Oh, that's cool. I have a lot of videos by myself, so does Alex. I'll see people on the street when I'm like walking in Vegas and they're like, Leila, and they're like, oh, you have a husband? And I'm like, you know, but like if they find me not through Alex, then they don't know. And it's almost weird because like if you see someone who's single, it's like having the other spouse like almost validates that they're like,
that you're not crazy.
Yeah, they're not crazy. And then having a family is like, oh, they're stable. You know
like
what I mean?
Normal people.
Yeah. Grant Cardone, when we talked to him about it, he was like, y'all got kids? And we're like, no. He's like, best thing for business.
Yeah.
That's super relatable, and that's probably people aspire to that with all of this too, more than anything.
Well, so 100%, like I talk about it on my podcast all the time. Like I talk about family and time management and budgeting time. And, you know, I'm kind of, I don't want to say like the opposite of like what sometimes Gary or even you guys say with like, you know, put in the hard work, do this stuff. I'm like, look, just put in efficient work. You don't need to grind like 16-hour days. Like if you got a family and kids, you should not be doing that. You should be spending time with them because like you're not going to have them if you only work.
Well, and I think, you know, we say that stuff. That's what we also say, like, do what you want to do.
Right.
Which is like, if you don't want to work 16 hours a week, don't.
Exactly.
I think we're in a spot where we're like, we do it together.
We love working.
Yeah.
And we don't, so we love doing, we get to do it together. We're not sacrificing and we don't have kids. So it's like.
Yeah, there's nothing I'd rather do than build.
Right.
I enjoy building.
So what about kids? You gonna take Cardone's advice?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
Yeah. No, we enjoy our lives as is, and I think there are a lot of people who are great parents, and I want to give them that opportunity. You know, I think there's a lot of people who have roles in the world. Like I could probably be a really good chef. It doesn't mean I need to be, and so it has nothing to do with, you know, should or should not. It's just at this current juncture where we're at, where we want to go. I think in order to be the parents we would want to be, we would be sacrificing that we, at this point, care more about.
Yeah.
It was interesting because I was like, you know, because I would think like I would have the urge to want to have kids, but we went and saw Tony Robbins and he, you know, kind of laid out like the human needs. And when we were going over them, he's like, you know, fill out how fulfilled you are on each of these things. And I was like, oh, I'm like lowest an 8.5 out of 10 on anything.
Yeah.
And he's like, most women get to an age where they have these needs that are not yet met, and so kids fill these needs. And most men, and then he was explaining how it worked, and I was like, but he's like, most women don't find a career by this age, and that's the age most are expected to have children, so the kids fill that gap.
Right.
He said, but if you find a career first, then often you have like less of a desire to have kids. And I was like, that makes total sense.
Because your needs are filled.
Yeah.
That does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
growth, contribution, variety, consistency, like all of those things.
So it's like, who cares how you fill your needs? It's just, when people are like, well, why wouldn't you want them? It's like, well, I have my needs met a different way.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's just no desire.
Your babies are your businesses.
Yeah,
right.
And from like an impact perspective, you know, I think a lot of times I'd probably have expectations of a kid that we would have, or multiple kids, to be a certain way. And I don't know if I would feel comfortable projecting that onto them, when we have so many people who would love, who don't have, you know, the parents or the people that they, you know, wish they might have had, and walk towards us and are like, we love your help. You know what I mean? So like, I know that our kids would probably not listen to us because we would be their parents. And so it's like, they probably just end up being like normal folks, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I'd rather just like work with the 10,000 people who want, you know what I mean, to work with us. And so if we have, you know, like, how much time does a kid take? Is it 4 hours a day? Is it 6 hours a day? Like, how much attention does a child require? And if we think, okay, those 6 hours, if I could impact 10,000 people from an impact perspective, then like, I'm cool with that. And if somebody doesn't care my genetic code, if you were to zoom out and think, okay, well, you know, 1 million years ago, we all had a much smaller genetic pool that this all was all from, then we're all in a lot of ways related. And so it's really just like the human brotherhood, or human, you know, species in general. And so genetic code wise, and if you extrapolate out another 10,000 years in the future, like, all of our genetic codes can get diluted out anyways into something that's irrelevant. So it's like, me having my own progeny just doesn't really make a lot of sense, besides just like the base evolutionary need, which I can understand and respect. It's just that for us, it's like, okay, well, where do we feel like we have the most leverage that we can make the most impact in a way that we find meaningful?
I've seen you talk about that before, like on Graham's show and other shows. And actually, the first time we had the Zoom call, I remember you were telling me kind of that. I was like, that sounds very much like Ecclesiastes. Like, you know, none of this really matters at the end of the day. And I think you're the only guy who, like, I don't know, like, I'm sure there's a lot of people who feel the way you feel, but none of them project it the way you project it. Like, is there a reason?
I think a lot of stuff stems from there. Like, a lot of times, like, a lot of questions, like, the real root of the question ends up being answered from that belief set. You know what I mean? Like, most people's perspective and viewpoint of the world is, like, the why are we here question is, on some level, the basis of why we do what we do. And so I think, for me at least, a lot of things trickle back to that. So it's like, why don't you have kids? Because of that. Why do you choose to work out the way you do? Because of that. Why do we do business the way we do? Why do we decide to start making content? A lot of it goes back to just our worldviews. And so I think that's, like, that is the root of those things. So it ends up
always coming back to it. No, it's true. I mean, I'm on the other side of the spectrum where, as a Christian, I'm like, you know, everything I do is for this very reason. And you're like, well, why do you give it away? Why do you want to go, like, do this? And I'm like, because that's my belief system.
I didn't even share it until Graham asked that, and I had such a huge response from the video, I'd say, which was candidly overwhelmingly good. There's definitely tons of people who just get triggered because that's who they are.
Yeah.
But, like, I've only started talking about it more
since
most because people keep asking about it.
Yeah.
Like, and I think a lot of people, there's this huge camp of people who are like, well, I don't believe that, but I don't know what I believe. And so I think to some degree, they're like, oh, okay, that's words to some of the thoughts that I've had. So I think it helps for some people.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't hear you ever talk about it until then, other than our Zoom call where I was like, that's an interesting view. I was like, interesting.
It's uncommon.
Very uncommon, especially too because I think as entrepreneurs and goal-driven people, right, you're always driven towards, you know, hope in the future, right, for whatever it is you're building towards. And so, you know, with that view, I don't think many entrepreneurs would have that view because it's like, there's like no hope at the end.
I would have said the base of that would have not necessarily been the reason. So you said like a lot of entrepreneurs drive towards hope. I would have just said like, I don't know if I agree with that.
What do you think drives them?
I think people are behaviorally conditioned to repeat things that have been reinforced in their past. So like you either get punished or you get reinforced for behaviors that you do, and you continue to seek out things that reinforce behavior and you go away from things that punish them, and that's just like basic humans. And so if like these activities gave us reinforcement, over time we continue to do those things. Like I work out now because I have been working out for a long time, not because I want to get more jacked, because I don't. I work out because I'm used to working out. It's been reinforced long enough that I just keep doing it. I still do business because what else would I do?
I played pro baseball before I got into business.
Yeah.
So I still work out today. I don't look like you, but I need to get on like the bodybuilder workout. I've been on like the just like limber athlete workout.
Dude, that's a good workout.
It's probably better for longevity.
It's way better for longevity. Like if you want to live a long time, like my thing is not geared towards that. Like I will live a shorter life because I am bigger.
There's a guy who
serious.
followed his protocol and got diabetes. So like,
Swear to God, no, he got diabetes. He triggered type 1 diabetes after following the whole thing.
Like because of the diet?
Yeah.
Like what are you telling him to eat?
Well, I did this very insane protocol where I put like 35 pounds on it. It was natural. And
sandwiches and milk.
oh yeah, it was. I would eat a box of cereal, a gallon of milk for breakfast.
A gallon is that possible? Like, isn't that a challenge?
It was a half gallon. It was skim. It was lactate, so I didn't have the digestion issue. So I had a bag of mini wheats and a half gallon of lactate for breakfast, and then I'd go work out. And during the workout, I'd have 1,000 calories of dextrose or maltodextrin. So just like selecting carbohydrates that I just mix with water and 2 scoops of whey protein. And then for lunch, I would have about 2,000 calories of Chipotle. So it'd be like...
I mean, it's like 3 bowls?
No, so it's actually, yeah, if you get a bowl and you get 2 tortillas on the side, like each tortilla is 400 calories, so you get 2 tortillas on the side, which is 800. You get a bag of chips, which is 600, and so you're already at 1,400, and then you get the bowl. So it's like 2,000. And
so they're just bad calories. They're not even just tortillas and chips.
And then I'd be like, what is a bad calorie versus a good calorie? But and then after that, I'd have a pound of pasta for dinner. And so that's what I did every day for 6 weeks. And I trained for 3 hours a day, and I put 35 pounds on.
Oh no, those were my my warmer questions. These now the real ones are coming.
That's funny. Yeah, because when I did the Graham Stephan podcast, it was like when we turned the camera off, he was like, probably ended up chatting for another like 30 minutes. He was like, damn, I really wish we'd record that. So it's just kind of funny how those like in-betweens are still good.
Well, this conversation's going to make it into a YouTube video for sure. 3, 2, 1. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Ryan Pineda Show. Today, I actually have our most requested guest ever. Alex is pointing at Leila. I have none other than, I'll just say the Hormozis. What's up?
What's up? Thanks for having me.